Sonic games are pretty bad. Alright, and here's why. Alright, look, Sonic is known for their rail physics, alright? Now, why is it that a shooter game for kids, specifically, about squids, you know, the game that isn't really well known for its rails, has better physics than Sonic? Even when they mess up, it's usually your fault. In Sonic, look, you jump, your momentum is a 50-50 chance to go flying off the rails or just moving so slow that you die on the rail.
This is freaking Adventure 2, Sonic 06, and all that other shit. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the other stuff. Most of the rails are just automated. And sometimes, you can actually make it work out. There's only one game where the rails, there's not even rail switching. You just jump to them, and the homing attack works. What's wrong with that?
One, if the rails are automated, that ruins the whole point of the rails. That's a cutscene. You don't see Super Mario Galaxy Bowser being really freaking big and killing off the universe is like, oh my god, best mechanic in the game. No, you say that's a really good cutscene. And the thing is, Sonic games is that, yeah, they look good. That's because they're using pre-rendered cutscenes. Their games still hold up in graphics sometimes. But you know what they should have held up in? Level design. Level design. The games have such ass level design. The pacing is ass. Not only that, but you know what's even worse? In a game that you're supposed to feel fast, Jalen, half the time I feel it's a chore to run through a small portion of the level. I feel slow, not fast, and especially with the wisps, even they try to make it seem fast, but no, I feel like I'm running in a marathon as an overweight, obese kid running after an ice cream truck.
Please, you want to talk about slow? Play Secret Rings. That game, you control like a freaking sloth. That is terrible. And you're talking about how you don't barely feel fast.
How come? Your argument on the game that truly controls bad help your argument at all that Sonic games aren't bad.
I'm not saying there aren't bad games. There are games I absolutely despise. I'm not saying there aren't any bad games. But I'm just saying that not every game is terrible. Even the games that are horrible have some good stuff in it. Like the music. In fact, let's talk about the music. The music is actually good.
The music is good on the earlier ones. The later ones, yes, they're good, they're acceptable, but they're not going to be the kinds of ones where I see in my recommendation page. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that one. I'll jam out to this for the next 12 hours. Oh, I like this one. I'll listen to this once and then never see it again. Also, do I even have to specify the fact that all the newer games are writing off nostalgia for Sonic? Look, the early games carried the franchise hard. Their mobile apps that they make that are heavily pay to win, they are just Temple Run clones in one way or another. And some even just rip off Mario Kart Tour's UI.
I know you're talking about Forza Speed Battle, and second of all, what else are they supposed to do? It's a running game, so of course they're gonna make it like Temple Run. So how would you make the games not feel like Temple Run then?
Well, I'd copy Turbo Dismount, because that's at least a different game, and then add my own unique twist. Alright, Turbo Dismount, but you have to get through the level. Turbo Dismount, it's just a sandbox game. There is no real goal besides destroying your truck, I guess. In this one, you actually have a goal. The whole thing is just getting Sonic through the level, and you control it like a Turbo Dismount vehicle.
Okay, here's the thing with nostalgia. Now, I'm not gonna lie. Nostalgia can be pretty annoying for Sonic games. I won't lie. But this is completely Sega. They're the ones who keep on asking to add this thing to the game. They're the ones who don't even care about quality control at this point. They're the ones who just get it. They're the ones who just say, you know, oh, let's just add Green Hill Zone, or oh, let's just add Chemical Plant, or Classic Zone, or add a 2D section. So really, it's Sega's fault. So it's not really Sonic Team's fault.
Alright, another thing here about that, alright? How come the newer games write on nostalgia so hard? Specifically to the point where that when they re-implement the old level designs, they still feel slow because the physics of the newer games are still somehow worse than their first game in this franchise. How?
Those games went through a lot of development hell, so of course they're not gonna play good. And second of all, it's entirely Sega's fault. They just rush games out the door. So of course this is gonna happen.
Yeah, that doesn't defend them from the fact that they're bad. And also, considering this, the full Sonic fandom is just coping at this point. Whenever it looked like the newest game, I don't even think it looks that good. I think it's just kind of generic, like, oh cool, it's 3D Sonic. It might be interesting. It's like Kirby's Forgotten Land. It's a cool game, but I'm not gonna like it as much as Superstar, because that's a good game, right? But, going off that, right, it looks pretty above mid, but not too above, right? People are going nuts over it because it doesn't look horrible like their last couple of games.
I can understand that, and I do agree. But the thing is, here's one game that has nostalgia and is actually good. Sonic Generations. It's got, I mean, yeah, the beginning is basically nostalgia, but it's actually a good game. I'll tell you that for sure.
And if I remember correctly, the game's literally just friggin' Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Except they included some more games. But even the story for all the games are pretty mid, alright? Sonic Adventure gets a pass because the Sonic Cube fandom makes me laugh whenever I play the actual game. I just can't. I don't care about the actual story. All Sonic stories are pretty mid. The first game didn't even have a story, and it still seems better than all the ones with an actual arc. What about the one where Sonic, at the end, freed the princess or whatever the frick, wished her like a mountain of freaking napkins, because she just lost everything she's ever known. And then that was kind of like supposed to be dramatic. I've never played Secret Wings. I just know it's terrible.
Good.
The footage is bad. Anyways, even more, the Werewolf Sonic one.
Werehog.
Werehog. Who the f names it Werehog?
Hedgehog, half werewolf. What do you want from me?
Look, the Sonic manga, or adventure comic, or whatever you want to refer it to as, is better than the entirety of the games, and it's just based on the games. The comics are good, especially the Archie ones.
Yes.
But if you read it specific, even the cartoon show is better than the games.
Which cartoon is like...
The old one, the one with the chicken robot.
Oh, that stupid show?
It was better than the actual games.
That show sucks.
It may have sucked, but it was better than the games we have now.
Excuse me? So, the stories may suck, but that's because the writers admit that they know absolutely nothing about Sonic, alright? So if anything, that's technically Sega's fault.
Look, in the manga, they clearly knew what they were doing with Sonic and actually made stories involving the characters. What are you gonna do without that in the games? You can't just have like Eggman going back in time, kill Tails, and get away with that in a kid's game.
There may be some things that are good, like the characters. And I mean, they got rid of those writers. They fired them. They're gone now. Now we have the guy who writes the comics, like Archie and IDW. So now the stories will actually be better if Sega doesn't hold limitations. Like he doesn't.
But again, with hype culture and gaming in general and releasing a new game, it is customary to bring up hype for the game, as it will definitely increase sales and all that such, right? The problem with that is that, with the Sonic games, with them all being mid, bringing hype culture into it is just leading a disappointment after disappointment. I liked Lost Worlds not for its game, but more because, hey look, a cool guy beating up the crap out of another cool guy. I never actually played the game, it just looked cool because of that. But when you actually play the game, you realize how bad it is. Real physics are bad. The graphics only look good because a lot of it's just pre-rendered, and it was on the Wii U, which means it's,
Rather have it be broken, where you just fall right off the rail and into your death.
That's bad game design. That's releasing an unfinished product. We're not freaking Bethesda over here. We don't release unfinished games and pay DLC later to fix it.
Okay, first off, doesn't Nintendo kind of do that with some characters? Like, you know, like look at Striker. Look how many characters weren't even there, and now they're just suddenly adding them when they should just be in the final product.
Look, their excuse is that at least the game was at least polished enough. Sonic games don't get that excuse. They are very broken, empty, and the story is even more mid. But going even further than that, Jalen, you know what's even worse about the Sonic franchise? The side characters. I don't even remember half their names. I just remember one of them. That's because he appeared in like Sonic Adventure 1 or 2. That's gonna be a problem when I don't even know the character's name. The character is so shallow. So shallow, in fact. I think my 13-year-old self's OC probably had better character design than that. And that thing was designed like any other OC, but twice as edgy.
Yes, their characters have been flanderized and bastardized, but it looks like that for Frontiers. They might fix them. And I mean, come on.
Keyword here, might.
Alright.
When do they ever uphold on our expectations? Disappointment after disappointment, game after game, launch after launch. It's gonna be the new great thing. You should buy it. It's Sonic's new finally gonna be a good game. And then we get Lost World. We get friggin' Forces, if I remember the right game's name. I don't even remember the game's names. That should tell you about more than enough.
Let me think. Generations, Mania,
Generations
Colors.
isn't even its own game. It's just a remaster of the old one, basically. It works for Melee because they're updating graphics and changed absolutely nothing about it. Yeah, it's nice graphics, and the game was good in the first place. With Sonic Generations, this is the 15th time they resold it, except with the twist that it's better graphics.
Can you really say the nostalgia is bad if you get good gameplay?
In Sonic Generations, they basically kept it the same, so I'll give them that. But you know Sonic Forces, or whatever the game where you get to make your own Sonic OC or whatever, Forces, how is it in the classic sections, they feel horrible. Not only do you not feel fast like in the OG games, not only do the graphics just look good, but like they're not nearly as good as Nintendo's more polished games. The physics are off, you can't even run up some slopes sometimes, you get bugged off, the bosses are mid, they're just rehashing past adventures. And the only reason they have Sonic Classic is just to sell more product, which is good on their part for marketing, but not so good for the game. Nintendo gets the excuse from this about the manual part, mainly because it was like one of their just testing out the waters game. They released New Super Mario Bros. With the instruction manual and everything, and they just kind of had it there and flying. They didn't really, it wasn't about the lore of the game. The game was good on its own. You didn't need to know that Mario was like a plumber. You didn't need to know that the bricks were toads that you were slaughtering yourself. You didn't need to know any of that. You just saw a guy that you were playing as, jumping on turtles and weird mushroom things, and you had fun. Sonic games, especially the new ones, but the old ones, they were good because you felt fast. And the newer games can't even make you feel that anymore. But my final point here, right? My final freaking point. When was the last time you heard of a new Sega console released? When was the last time you heard a new Sega console hosting a new Sonic game that was good? And even then, even worse. Since was the last time you saw an actually decent console that isn't just trying its best to compete with Nintendo? But unfortunately for them, Sega basically runs on Nintendo's consoles nowadays. That's just sad. Their former competitor, their rival in arms, brought so low like this.
Okay, they just need to show that Sonic is a worthy competitor of Mario or Zelda. That's the problem. No one thinks that anymore. Because, I mean, Sonic just basically sucks now. But days can change. And the last time a console was actually announced was in 2001. Holy shit, that's
Zelda is a great franchise. Mario is an even greater franchise. Pokemon is a great franchise if you ignore the fact that they're having to cut Pokemon in order to keep data. But that's a bit on the fact that they're bloating content a bit, right? And making games easy, right? But the thing with Sonic is that it used to be one of the big giants. If you asked, what are the 5 best video game characters, you would probably answer like Mario, Link, Sonic, or whatever. Nowadays, Sonic would be like your top 10 if you were a fan of them. Look how the mighty have fallen.
doesn't mean it's too late. They can still change. They can still be good again. It's not impossible. They just need to show that they can.
Any company can change, Jalen. Problem is that Sega somewhat refuses. Even their newest game, which they're supposedly changing for, is barely that much better than average. But if this is a step in the right direction and they keep continuing doing this, they may be able to go back to the top ranks. But that's just a whole long list of bad games. A whole long list. It's like the Virtual Boy, except Nintendo barely capitalized on that. They screwed it the second it went bad, which is good for them, because now they don't have to deal with the whole bunch of bad games. Even then, on the Virtual Boy, the games are good. Sega does not have that excuse. I think that would end the discussion here.